Thank you for joining me today. It's Brian Gubernick, and welcome to the No Days Off podcast, where we believe that every single day brings a new opportunity to get better. Today, I want to talk to you about an idea that I think sounds pretty simple, but if you really think around it, if you really absorb it, I think it changes the way you approach your business and your life. I want to talk around this concept known as trade-offs. Here it is in let me count this. I think 5 words. Every yes is a no. Every yes is a no. Every time you say yes to something, be it a meeting or a project, a partnership, a favor, whatever, you are automatically saying no to something else. You just maybe don't see the no. In other words, it never shows up on your calendar, but it is real. And for many of us, and many times, it is pretty expensive. Now, economists actually have a name for this. It's called opportunity cost, which is the true cost of anything isn't the time or money you spend on it. It's the best alternative you gave up to get it. That's known as opportunity cost. But here's the problem, I think, for entrepreneurs. We are wired to say yes. As a matter of fact, I would venture to guess that many of us have gotten to the level of success we're at because we were saying yes so often. We were taking on the hard project. We were solving for the big need. We were taking every client under the sun, and that led to maybe our current level of success. But that exact behavior is also what's going to stand in your way of getting to the next level. When you say yes, it sometimes feels like momentum. Yes feels like opportunity. Said differently, though, no might feel like door closing. But when you analyze it, when you study it, the highest performers think about things differently. They flip that mindset. Warren Buffett, who I'd say is probably a pretty high performer, he said the difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. Steve Jobs, another person who was maniacally focused, he said that focus isn't about saying yes to the thing you're working on. It's about saying no to 100 other good ideas. Now, I want you to notice a specific word that Jobs said there. He used the word good. And I think that that's the real trap because most of us don't struggle to say no to bad ideas. The trade-offs that actually hurt are the ones between good and great, which I think brings us to a principle worth memorizing. And that's that the vital few in comparison to the trivial many. Vital few versus the trivial many. I want you to remember that term. There was an individual, Joseph Juran, who was a quality engineer or pioneer, if you will, who was building on or doubling down on the 80-20 principle, the Pareto principle, which, if you recall, that's the idea that roughly 20% of your activities drive 80% of your results. Well, Juran was building on that. And what he had said was, basically a small handful of things that you do, which would be called the vital few, create most of your outcomes. Everything else, which would be the trivial many, is noise, just wearing a, call it, work costume. I think that's a really, really important thought. Greg McKeown, who wrote the book Essentialism, he put it even more bluntly. He said, if you don't prioritize your life, somebody else will. So in my mind, the question really becomes, how do you decide, or what's the filter? Probably one of my most favorite filters, and it's so simple, but it's just a great one. I've thought about it since the day I read it in Tim Ferriss's Tools of Titans. It comes from entrepreneur Derek Sivers, and he calls it hell yeah or no. Sounds kind of funny, but it's hell yeah or no. When you're deciding whether to commit to something, if you feel anything less than a hell yeah, like I'm in, absolutely, the answer is no. It's not a maybe. It's not a let me think about it. It is a firm no. If it's not a hell yeah, it's a no. Now, why does this work? It works because a lukewarm yes doesn't just cost you the hours it takes. It actually occupies the space where a potential hell yeah opportunity could live. Saying no to almost everything leaves you the time and leaves you the energy to go all in when that right thing shows up. Now, I'll give you a more practical filter. 3 questions that I think you can run every meaningful decision through. Question 1: what am I really saying no to if I say yes? What am I really saying no to if I say yes? 3 questions here. What am I really saying no if I say yes? And what you're forced to do here is nail or name the invisible no. Is it maybe time with the family? Is it progress on a more important project? Is it your health? So what you're really doing is making the trade-off visible. So question number 1, what am I really saying no to if I say yes? Question number 2, if this weren't already on my calendar, would I add it today? If this weren't already on my calendar, would I add it today? Now, this one is pretty brutal when it comes to recurring commitments. We keep saying yes to things simply because we've said once, or we once said yes before, maybe a long time ago, and we got to stop doing that. So if this weren't already on my calendar, would I add it today? A lot of those meetings on your calendar right now, you probably wouldn't add back. And then question 3, is this a hell yeah? If you're rating it a 6 or a 7 out of 10, it's probably a no. 6 or 7s are what I would say good people end up with really mediocre years. So here's your action items. Okay. Your action item for the week. I want you to open up your calendar. I want you to find one commitment that's a 6 or a 7 out of 10. Something you said yes to that you wouldn't say yes to again today. And here you go. I want you to cancel it. I want you to delegate it. I want you to figure out a different solution for it. And then go one step further. I want you to write down in one sentence what that no just created for you or just bought you. This is a very deliberate no, and that's going to be your first assignment. Again, open up that calendar, find the commitment. That's a mediocre commitment, and do something about it. Watch how freeing it becomes. And don't wait to do this. Once you're done listening, please go and do it. And it's going to free up some time to do those things or do a thing that actually really matters in the grand scheme of things. That's all I have for you today, the No Days Off podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, every single day brings a new opportunity to get better. So let's get after it.